Hey guys, today's scrapbook layout is a double page layout with tons of little bitty tiny details as well as flip flaps to add extra photos. Hi, I'm Katie Taylor at scrappinkaty.com/home, where I show you how to preserve your family's memories through the art of scrapbooking. Today's video, I am going to finally scrapbook some photos of my husband and I doing one of those board and brush things where you go and you paint your own boards. This was several years ago. The good thing about waiting to scrapbook these is I'm actually getting to use some paper from Stampin' Up. It's called the Trusty Toolbox. I actually got this on clearance. So I think I purchased this maybe for $5. You can see how cute it is, and it's actually going to go really well with the colors in our photos. And then part of Celebration last month, they had a two-part celebration. The second part, I was able to get this for free with my $60 order. And if y'all know me, which if you've been around a while, you know I don't really like to color or do a whole lot of piecing. I'm fast and furious, like to get in here and get out. These dies actually cut out the images from this DSP. So that's going to make this layout come together really quickly. And then I'm also using one of my favorite sketches from the CDT sketchbook. Now this is volume 2. I've used this one numerous times. I love it because it's a whole lot of photos, but you also get to see some of the pattern paper that I'm going to use. So I'm going to cut some things off camera and I'll be right back and we can put this together. I am going to speed the rest of this video up just a little bit, but I wanted to walk you through cutting some of my photo mats. I decided to use crushed curry. I don't have a whole lot of this cardstock, so I have cut 4x6 pieces, and I am going to gut these photo mats to get my 3x4 photo mats. Now you see me gutting my base page a lot, but I also wanted to show you that you definitely can gut your photo mats to either create more, or like I said, I don't have a whole lot of this crushed curry. Stampin' Up, as you might know, doesn't carry a lot of 12x12, or didn't up until the Close to My Heart merger. And so I just have sample or assortment packs, and those only come with 2 each, and I don't love it enough to buy a whole package. Now, as far as the DSP, I am going to rough the edges. I do this often, but I feel like this layout really allows you to do that just because of the manner of the photos and how these signs took place. I'll explain that later on in the video. Now, there are several ways that you can distress. I had a Tim Holtz. It's not my favorite. I do not recommend getting it. That's the one with the little finger hole. You can also use your fingernail, scissors, or I have a Close to My Heart one that I really love. I'm just going to attach these pieces of DSP down to the base, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the right base as well. If you're new around here, I usually like to do my bases first and then come back in and add the photos and then embellishments last. And I think it just adds a whole lot of cohesiveness to the layouts. Now I am using this stamp set. It's called Of Art and Texture, and I am just going to stamp some of the images around the edges of that white base page. I am using some removable label tape just to make sure that I'm not getting any of that onto my DSP. I am using some Close to My Heart colors because I don't have a whole lot of Stampin' Up inks yet. And so this one is Paprika. This actually is my friend Jama's favorite color. You'll have to go visit her channel and ask her about paprika if you get a chance. I'm also adding some splatters using the Close to My Heart color Acorn. Now the sketch calls for a 5x7. This photo, once it's finished with all the matting, is going to be a 5x7. And then I have a 3x3. Now you might have noticed that I did not mat all my photos using the crushed curry. I decided to just add some little pops here and there. So I have a 3x3 matted. I have this 3x4 at the top. And then this one is just matted white. Now I am trying to separate the photo mats that have the crushed curry, and I'll show you that here in just a second. This is another form or another pattern of the DSP from the Trusty Toolbox. I absolutely love it, but I want to use it sparingly. Remember this 5x7 photo, I'm going to add just some little bitty pieces of that around that, and then go ahead and bring a strip of those over to the right by one of the 3x4s. Now, while adhering this, I noticed the back side had this lovely ruler, and I actually just really love that. And so I wanted some more pops of that crushed curry. So I am just cutting some of those. Now the elongated one is going to go up over the top of the photo. That top portion of this layout has a lot of blank space, so I kind of want to fill it up. I'll add my title here later. And then I'm going to add just a pop of that yellow to the bottom, as well as you saw me add it to that right 3x4. So I'm pretty much liking that. Again, I'm going to bring in the right layout and add my photos here. But first, I want to replicate that stamping. I'm going to do the same with the Art of Texture, adding that removable label tape so I don't get it onto my DSP. And then use those same two colors, trying to remember and looking over at the sketch where my photos are going to go. I will come back after I add my photos, and I'm going to have to kind of elongate some of that stamping, but it's really easy to do, especially if you just take care and cover your photos if they're already in place. So I'm done with my stamping. I am going to move that off to the side, and then I'm going to bring in some flip flaps. Now you saw in the intro of this video that this photo, because of the flip flaps, I am able to add 4 extra photos that are hidden. And I am going to do the same thing with the photo mats. Some are going to be matted with the crushed curry. I'm going to do that top right one, and that is the one that you're actually going to see through the flip flap. And then I am going to add the white pieces for these 4x6 portraits, and that's the one you're going to see through the photo mat. Actually, I think I reversed that. I sure did. I meant for you to see that topped crushed curry. Oh, well. So one thing about flip-flaps, if you're new to flip-flaps, you will adhere, or I do, I adhere the 2 photos together, but you just want to really make sure that once you flip that open, that that photo is facing the right way. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can do flip-flaps. I prefer to adhere my flip-flap to my layout base. And you can just adhere it down and then come back in with the bottom photo that's actually adhered to the base, and then just line that up and make sure that that's really adhered down. The other way to do it is actually kind of mimic that it is lined up, and then you will just remove that backing and then just line that up. Now there is adhesive already on that photo that's adhered to my base, and then I'll just burnish that little strip as much as I can, trying to get in underneath the top of that photo. You can also put your flip-flaps on top of your memory protector. It's not something that I do very often, but it's definitely an option. I'm adding the 3x4s. You'll see one of those with the crushed curry, and then the 3x3 at the top. Now here's where I realized that I needed to elongate my stamping, so you can see that off behind that 3x4. So I've done that. You can see the flip flaps, really liking that. And then I'm going to go ahead and add those little strips of the DSP to this layout, again, just to add to the cohesiveness. Now I am using that Trusty Toolbox dies and then some acorn cardstock to create some little anchors for my little tools that I cut out. I am going to be using one of the punches from Stampin' Up, so I just made sure that this strip of acorn cardstock is big enough for that, and then I'm running this die through. And this die is the cutest little pegboard, and you'll see it here in just a second. Now I am going to just go ahead and punch these circles out. I can get 2 full circles and then a partial circle, but no, don't worry about that because that will end up being hidden by the tools. So for this left layout, I'm going to start with it. I did decide to add some acorn ink around the edges, and I'm absolutely loving this. It's got that grunge look that you would probably find in a toolbox. Now, while we are painting photos and we're not actually building anything, if you've ever been to one of these board and brush places, it is the coolest thing. So you actually use tools to create texture in your boards. So we used hammers, we used nails, we used chicken wire. You actually put the chicken wire down onto the raw wood and then you kind of hammered it down. And then once you stain that sign, you can actually see all of that texture. And so some of these photos are of that process. And then, of course, you stain it and then do your little transfer with the paint. Now, as far as these little tools that I cut out using the dies, I did have to fussy cut some of them, but I am just creating these little groupings. And then some are getting adhered down with some 3D foam in the form of dimensionals. And then some are getting adhered down with just regular liquid adhesive. So for this bottom one, this is the one that's the half circle, and I kind of had to hide some places that you could see that base, but don't worry because these tools were perfect for that. I am adding some smaller dimensionals to this hammer, and I am going to get that adhered down right over the handle of those pliers. I think those are pliers. My daddy probably wouldn't be very happy with me if they're not. And then I've got this cute little pencil, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that handle just adhered down to the top of that photo. I am going to bring that right layout out and then go ahead and add this little grouping. So the left layout had 2 little tool groupings and then this right layout only has 1, but it ended up working out because the right layout has more photos on it. And then also the right layout's going to have my journaling. So I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of this drill, and then I'm going to just adhere that over the handle of that hammer. And then I'm really liking that. Now I had this saw. My first thought was put the date on it, but I just couldn't figure out where to put it. So it didn't make the cut. Now, as far as my title goes, I have these titles from Close to My Heart, and this is a wood grain. I really wanted to bring that wood grain in. So I decided to try out some things. I have my Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends, a dark and a light. And then I also wanted to try to see if I did a Poppy Parade little ink direct to it, how it would look. I ended up liking the dark Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends better. So I'm just adding this title Memories to the back side of that little removable label tape that I used for my stamping. And it's going to make it really easy for me to just color over these letters with that marker. And I love that this marker actually allows you to still see the wood grain. And I will bring that up here in just a second so you can see that. As far as my title, right now it's going to read The Best Memories. I am starting with the biggest portion, which is memories, and I did go backwards. So I'm adhering the S first and then kind of working my way back because I knew how close I wanted that S to that right side. And then I decided, there you can see that wood grain. Then I decided that the best just isn't the best option. So there is another title that's happy. I decided to go ahead and color it while it was still attached. This made it so much easier. And then I got to thinking, you know what? I can just flip it over, add some adhesive just to the letters, and then that's also going to make it really easy to adhere down to my layout. So that's what I've done. The hardest part was not being able to see if it was truly straight, but I think some of that is just the play that your eyes have because Happy is kind of a funky, kind of fun, whimsical font versus the Memories. But all in all, I really like how that turned out. Now I am going to add some of the adhesive backed textured dots. These are kind of a metal color, and you've got 2 sizes, and I thought that they were perfect for this layout because, we had to deal with, like I said, the chicken wire, everything like that. So I'm just adding these around the little embellishment clusters, some around the stamping. I do end up coming in with that staple. Again, anytime you're messing with either masculine layouts, or like this tools, add add those metals. They really pop, and they add just that extra detail. I have these labels, or these little plates from, they were Stampin' Up, but they came over from, no, they were close to my heart, came over to Stampin' Up, and I wanted to add it under my title. It just seems like there was a lot of blank space there. But then I end up just kind of moving it around, and I end up going with the smaller little plate up at the top over this photo. I do end up taking some ink and edge distressing that, and then I actually remove these little adhesive back dots. That's going to allow me to center this piece right over that 3x3 photo, and then I'm just going to put the dots over the holes. And it ends up working out. I do end up replacing the smallest one and then getting one of the larger ones just so they'll be the same size. For my journaling, I am using my journal strip stickers. These were a close to my heart item, so they're no longer available. But I'm going to add some journaling strips to the bottom as well as the top of the right page. And then that pretty much finishes off those journaling. Now, for a last minute detail, I am going to add some white gel pen to my title. I think it just pops, and then you might be able to see it in the still shots, but some of those tools actually have some white around them. So you can see that title, and then you can just see all the little details in the stamping, the adhesive back texture dots, the little tools, that pegboard. I just absolutely love it. And then, of course, you can use the flip flaps to add additional photos. And sometimes I actually like to add hidden journaling. Here are some still shots of this double page layout. Remember that I will add links down to all the products that I used if they are still available, as well as the CDT Volume 2 12x12 sketchbook that I used for this layout. You'll find that linked down below as well. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. Remember, if you liked what you saw, hit that like button, subscribe if you aren't already a subscriber, and share with your friends. Also, I love to read all your comments, so feel free to let me know what you thought of this. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend and a wonderful week. Thanks, and bye.